Welcome back to Inside College Basketball Now. I'm Jon Rothstein, pleased to be joined by UCLA head coach Mick Cronin. And Mick, I would ask you how your summer's going, but when you live in Southern California, it's the summer 12 months out of the year. Do you miss the seasons at all?
No, I miss basketball season. Do I miss the humidity, the rain, and the cold? No. Not at all. So riding the waves out here, JR. Sadly, you had to leave as you were just out here, being as your better half she's from here, correct?
She went to school out there, yeah, to another Big Ten school in town, which, I know we won't mention right now because this is a UCLA interview. But yeah, her main social network is in Southern California.
Yeah. So it's good for you. You get the vacation here.
That is a big bonus. It's part of what I signed up for. But you've now really become assimilated in that lifestyle for a long time. You're getting ready to start your 7th year as the head coach at UCLA. How hard is that to believe?
Yeah, time flies. I think the hardest thing for me to believe, my daughter's going to college, getting ready to take her to American University. As you remember her sitting behind the bench at Cincinnati, my dad holding her in his lap, and now she's going away to school. So it's definitely when something like that happens, is obviously. Is your little girl 2 now?
She will be 2 in September, yes.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, someday she'll be 18. And it's hard to believe. And I'm going to tell you, buddy, it happens quick. So, yeah, time has flown. It's funny. This summer, you got different guys that are coming through the gym. And it's like, man, these guys played 4 years for me. David Singleton's on my staff. Cody Riley, Jaime, Tiger, Jalen Clark, so, we're already, so like you say, it was just a minute ago, you're the new coach at UCLA. Now, guys been in the NBA a few years that played 4 years for me. So, been here a while, but it's been great. Obviously excited about this year. I know you want to get to moving, talking about that. And, as you know, we start late, won the quarter system. So we still actually have 3 weeks of practice, summer practice left. So that's going well for us. And, it's more important than it used to be because you have so many key pieces coming to every team in the country through the portal. And as you know, there's some teams in our league, last year USC, this year Indiana, that literally have a whole team out of the portal.
Right.
So summer's become it's just taken on a greater responsibility to make sure that you're trying to speed things up versus the old days where you have your whole team back and you knew you were going to have your whole team back.
Mick, the job that you took in 2019 at UCLA is vastly different than the job that you have today, not just because of the portal, immediate eligibility, and NIL, but because of the conference affiliation. Given all the circumstances around you that have changed, especially now that you're a member of the Big Ten, does UCLA feel like a different job?
Oh, no question. But I think that's fair to say maybe for anybody. But I would say the biggest change would be the conference. Mm-hmm. I think you and I have talked about it. It's been a big challenge for a lot of teams when they've changed conferences. We're talking about some big name teams that have really struggled. They've lost their identity. I credit Dave Benedict at UConn as much as I credit Danny Hurley for getting UConn back to the Big East. It's a huge move. Since then, their women's team and their men's team have won a title. I think they lost their identity, outside the Big East, and it's paid dividends for them. getting back. A lot of us that have changed conferences have struggled. We were able to get to double bye. I think we got a chance to have a great team this year. At UCLA, we have great Olympic sports, as you know, and we won a lot. A lot of our teams, we have won some Big Ten titles, but in basketball and football, it's tough. So I think that's been the biggest change, John. All the other stuff, everybody has to go through the portal, the NIL, and all that stuff. But the change in conference at the high level has really, if you just, people out there, just study it, just look at it. Look at so many great teams have struggled losing their identity from who they were for many years. A lot of Big East teams that are no longer Big East teams.
Right. Well, it's interesting, Mick, because the UCLA job is unique in the sense where I know you want to win every single game that you play, and I know that you want to finish the best you can in your conference because that's going to put you ultimately likely in a position to get the best seed you can in the NCAA tournament. But UCLA and its fans are obviously more concerned with what happens in March during the NCAA tournament and whether or not you can go on a deep run. But you were in a situation last year where you had to fly to the Midwest to play Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament, then fly back, and then you fly to Lexington to play in the NCAA tournament the very next week. How do you manage all those dynamics as a head coach when obviously March Madness, especially at a place like UCLA, is so amplified?
Get a better team. I mean, look, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the Lakers and Celtics in the 80s used to have to fly back and forth to play those 7-game great NBA finals that you watch. That I think every year I like to go back and watch that documentary.
Yeah.
And you start to think, well, look, these guys did it all. Now obviously you played all in the West and you only did it once you got to the finals, but they did it. So it just is what it is. And I really mean that. Sounds funny. Get a better team. Look, our women's team was excellent last year. Our women's team was number one in the country a long time. They went to the Final Four. I think they either won or tied with USC. Then they won the Big Ten tournament. I think they maybe won the regular season, but they had a great team. They had the best team in the Big Ten, or right there with USC. That's the answer. The answer is get the best team. That's just I really that overcomes all the other stuff. The only thing I worry about when you talk about travel, the totality of the travel, and although you have to run your program now like a pro coach and an owner and GM, our kids go to school. They do. It's a reality of making sure that the flight's got Wi-Fi and you got high level stuff like that going on with your academic people traveling with you, especially we're at UCLA, the number one public institution in America. So the people that our guys are sitting in class with are the best of the best. So that's real. Academics is part of it. It still is, even though that you can transfer, even though you make $1 million a year, academics are a part of it. So that's what separates us from the pros. That concerns you with the travel. Missed class at UCLA is probably a bigger deal than missed class at some other schools.
All right, Mick, well, let's look ahead then to the team you're about to coach. Give me the impressions of the roster you put together.
Well, we're older. As you know, that's a good thing, right? Get old, stay old. So we have 3 graduates on this team and 3 regular seniors, I think. So at least 2. I lose track. But our 3 of our transfers are graduates, since Stephen Jemerson, Anthony Peoples, and Jamar Brown. Then Xavier Booker obviously comes in as a junior. So you're bringing some older guys in to the mix. And obviously you're going to, Donovan Dent's one of the few returning All-Americans in the country as a senior. So we tried to get older and better, and bigger. Hopefully being able to play the 3 transfers at the 5, and Tyler Bilodeau at the 4, Eric Daly at the 3. We've been working on that all summer. Trent Perry's a much better player now as a sophomore. A, he's got more opportunity, and B, he's just older. He was a true freshman. When I say that, he was he's an 18-year-old freshman. There's so many guys nowadays that are 20-year-old freshmen. It's just a different time in our world of sports where people redshirt 8th graders. So which that wasn't the case with Trent. He's just such an elite student that wasn't going to happen. So he's way better. I think Sky Clark's gone through a really tough year with his last summer. His father suffering from multiple strokes that began while Sky was at Illinois. And it's why he left Illinois at Christmas as his freshman year. His father, rest in peace, suffered his first stroke and then passed away this summer. Sky, being the oldest of 5 brothers and sisters, has had to bear the brunt of dealing with all that. Just unbelievable how he's handled it. Just so impressed with him. But he's human, and it affected him last year for sure. He got better as the year went on, but I think you're going to see a much more dynamic scorer. He was our best defensive guard, but Donovan Dent, he changes things. I mean, he just changes. He changes the world for your team offensively. You go into every game knowing that you have a guy that can just dominate on the offensive end. My challenge to him is consistency, work ethic, practice habits, the things I think will get him to the NBA.
Yeah.
And trying to do my part, because Richard Pitino, as you know, is my buddy, did a great job with him at New Mexico. His high school coach did a great job with him at Centennial, Josh Giles, here in LA, in the Inland Empire. But I got to do my part, try to get him to another level. But he definitely changes the world when you have one of the best point guards in the country.
Mick, your best teams as a head coach at Cincinnati and at UCLA have always usually featured high usage guys: Jaron Cumberland, Johnny Juzang, Tiger Campbell, Jaime Jaquez. And it feels like this team is built in a similar model. Last season, when you had great depth, but you maybe didn't have some of the go-to guys you had in the past, how much harder was it to kind of feed so many mouths in that rotation?
I think it's just harder to know how do you score, and you're trying to figure that out at times. And at times, because at times it was Tyler Bilodeau. At times, though, it's tough because he doesn't touch the ball, and you're relying upon certain people. But he loves life this summer. I mean, if he was on here, he would tell you how much he's loving life because playing with Donovan Dent. And the easy, that he's getting fed at on time, on target by the passer. So it's just it's hard as a coach when you don't really know where to go to get a bucket at times. You got to try to figure it out. I always say it's tough to draw the ball in the basket. So I think I would tell you, let me give you an example. If you go watch our Tennessee film, Tyler was off to a great start. He was playing well, and they do a great job. I mean, they were a top 2, probably second best defensive team in the country behind Houston.
Yeah,
but he didn't get a shot the first 12 or so minutes of the second half.
Right.
That's what happened to us. And then he immediately finally got two opportunities, and he's basket. So he just didn't get the ball, and that can't happen. You got to really, your best scorer in a crucial game in the NCAA tournament, it's a top 10 team. You can't go the first 12 minutes of the second half and not get the ball. And especially if the coach is trying to get him the ball, you got to have guards that can get him the ball. So I think your best teams, whether it was last year with Clayton, and Houston, I think made their run because Milo Suzanne became a much better player as the year went on. You got to have a guy out at the front. I mean, college basketball, You got to have a guy out front with the ball that can really make decisions and make plays and make it happen and make big shots.
Well, Mick, I've been covering your teams for a long time, and you know how much I love Tiger Campbell as a player, but I don't know if you've ever had a point guard this caliber. I mean, when you think about your career right now, what can Donovan Dent do at the point guard position that maybe previous point guards under your watch haven't been able to do?
Oh, I would say, John, without question, he's the most dynamic. Tiger was the ultimate winner, and I had some good point guards at Cincinnati for long periods of time. I always had the theory, I saw a lot of JUCO guys early in my career. I told Coach Huggins this a long time ago. So you got to get high school guards. That way you have returning guards. You train them on how to win and how to take care of the ball, and then you have them for 3-4 years, and you try to get another high school guy to take over. So we had some, I've had some good guys, but nobody at the level that Donnie can take it to, and there's times in practice where he just takes it to a level that nobody else can play at. He's just got different speeds that he can take it to. And he's a very, very underrated shooter. High school, that was his weakness. That's why he wasn't recruited in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
That and probably his physical stature. So we're trying to get him stronger, try to make him dominant at all times instead of him taking it to that level, when he feels he needs to win the game, and just more I'm trying to put the dominant mentality in him at all times, try to do my part. Like I said, Richard and Coach Giles and Richard Pitino have done their part with Donnie. I want to do my part, but you're right. I mean, look, you're like, he's a problem. Like when you go to play UCLA, your first problem is, how are you got to keep Donovan Dent from breaking your defense down on every play.
Right.
So it's not, when you have a guy like that, it's like having a great quarterback in football. He can make plays on his own. You don't have to draw the ball in the basket.
Yeah, and he's going to be somebody who's going to enter the season as a likely preseason first-team All-American. And you referenced Tyler Bilodeau, who should be an All-Big Ten player this season. I think a wild card for your team is a guy who had a lot of really good flashes last season, in Eric Daly. And in this climate, I'm always paying really close attention to transfers who are in their second year in a program because you have continuity. Eric Daly last year, when he scored in double figures, gave UCLA a 16-2 record. What changes for your program when Eric Daly produces?
Well, it's just, I'm a big believer in stuff like you just said, and break it down analytically. It's not rocket science. If you look at my teams, if we score 70 plus, we're usually 14-2 or 16-0.
Right.
So but you got to have guys like Eric. Guys got to score. They got to get the ball in the basket. And I think last year Eric had a lot of flashes for us, and it's a progression for him of how do I utilize him and how does he pick his spots. He's a guy that they used him at center at Oklahoma State a lot because they were small.
Yeah.
That's a necessity. But that's not who he is. I mean, he literally had a practice this morning. He had to have 50 points. I mean, he had an out-of-body experience where he never missed a shot. The players were starting to yell at him to save some for the season. But the thing I love about Eric Daly is that this is so important to your program, and books are written about stuff like this. Energy, positive energy. It's not contrived with him. Like the guy comes to practice every day with a smile. He's rested. He's done his pre-practice work. He literally handles himself like a professional as far as his pre-practice, getting there early, get his breakfast, get his stretch, get his early shots. And other guys do that too. But his excitement to play basketball, like this guy loves basketball like Sean Kilpatrick loved basketball. as you talk about like guys that were high usage guys, some guys that, that played for me. And guys like that get better. Like John, there's many days. Like it's summer yesterday. We were talking, I was trying to teach him about being a better cutter off the ball because he's playing with such an elite point guard. Number one, he's going to get the ball. And just learning things that, as we talk about, so many kids now do these workouts and they dribble through zones and shoot. They need to play basketball with older guys.
Yeah.
Because that's how they'll learn. And that's just kind of a lost thing, not to get off topic. So I talked, you got to know when to cut. So we were talking about that. Later yesterday, I get a video sent to me by Eric Daly of an NBA player cutting without the ball that I had referenced, that you guys are all on social media. You need to look this type of stuff up. Like, this is things I would watch. And he sent it to me. He found it, sent it to me, and was like, is this what you mean? And so he just breathes, eats, and sleeps basketball. So I think him playing the 3, Bilodeau at the 4, Booker, Jemison, and Peoples at the 5 give us a much bigger team. Now that poses some quickness challenges that but that's why they pay me to coach, figure that out on the defensive end. But I think we need to play we need to play bigger. Especially, you're playing in the Big Ten. And Tyler Bilodeau is such a great shooter. But if you put a smaller 4 on him, he's just going to punish you in the post because he's got a lot of Kiki Vandeweghe in him. Where it doesn't matter if the guy's not tall enough, he's just going to shoot it right over him. He's going to make it. It's like a layup for him, those types of shots. So I think it'll definitely help our defense in rebounding, playing bigger, and gives a chance for Eric. Is a big, strong kid now, so it's tough for people to play 3 guards. He can really punish a guy like that physically.
What type of a jump do you think is possible for him, given all the things you just said about his approach to the game and the fact that he's playing now with a point guard in Donovan Dent?
Oh, Eric's going to have – I mean, look, he's the guy who's always going to get better. I'm not a big stats guy other than field goal percentage, rebounding percentage, which I would say rebound per minute played, steals. And so and free throws attempted is something that he and I talk a lot about, using his body to get to the line more instead of shooting over people all the time. Trying to teach him and Tyler the Jaime Jaquez way of using your shot fake and getting to the line more. So I don't know, stat wise, across the board, I think for me it's impacting winning. And I would say, John, like, as you alluded to, like we were 14-2 in games he had double figures.
16-2.
At games he had double figures.
16-2 when he hit double figures.
So the problem, like, you got to get double figures. You got to get at least 10 a night. Like, you can't have those 16 games without double figures.
Right.
By your offensive rebounding, even on nights you miss shots. You got to get a couple layups through effort, and you got to get 4 free throws. So even on a bad night, you're getting 10. It's the nights with 2. The nights with 2 are what I think he can eliminate. That'll take him and our team to another level.
Well, another guy that's going to obviously have a big spotlight on him to take your team to another level is Xavier Booker, who a couple of years ago was viewed as one of the top high school players in the country and did not obviously have the type of start to his college career as he hoped at Michigan State. How do you unlock that potential at UCLA?
Well, look, I think I really believe this, that Xavier had to go through what he went through to get where he is now. I think it was inevitable. I saw him play. Michael Lewis took me to see him play. Now the head coach at Ball State, my former assistant that worked with me. when he was at Cathedral in Indianapolis. We saw him in the summer, and it was just the typical young big guy that could shoot it just well enough, and that grew later and could dribble a little bit. So he was being played on the perimeter. And then you become 6'11".
Yeah.
You go from 6'9" to 6'11", and now you're 245. And the reality of it is that you need to be a big man with skill level. But you got to do the big man stuff. You got to defend. You got to block shots. You got to grind and bang. You got to pick and roll and run. You got to learn how to be a good screener, which he never had done in his life. So it's we talked about all this. You just heard my recruiting pitch. I think this is the key to your career.
Right.
And if you may disagree, and that's okay. He's a great kid, great family, just like Coach Izzo would say. So he signed up to do what I thought was the key to his career, to become more of a big man and impact the game with his size. And we're working on it every day, all the fundamentals of it. But talking about a guy with 6'9", 200 back at Cathedral in Indianapolis shooting jump shots. So it's just been a process of development for him, learning footwork and fundamentals. But he's a sponge. He knows that we believe in him. And, he's a great, great guy. And, look, I got Darren on my staff, Darren Savino, who I love, and we're best friends. But he's as good as there is. I mean, he's been doing this a long time. You're talking about a guy who takes his job way more seriously than I do. And he is an elite teacher of big players, as good as there is in the game right now. And I've seen him grow into it over a long, long time and study it. And the work he's put in on becoming as good as there is at that. And the film study he does with the guys every day, the breakdowns before practice every day, making sure they understand fundamentals and footwork. And all you got to do is just look at development of Gary Clark at Cincinnati, Kyle Washington, Cody Riley, even Kenneth Nuba, who had no chance to ever get in a game to help us to a Final Four. Adem Bona couldn't score at all. Adem was just a raw kid from Nigeria that could run and jump. We were ISOing Adem Bona in the post his sophomore year. That's all Darren Savino. So I think, taking on the project to work with Xavier on developing more into a skilled big, not just a skilled guy on the perimeter standing there. I'm confident because Darren's on my staff. Book's a great kid. The key to all this is, at the end of the day, you're going to bump and grind. You got to be able to be tough enough to do it without getting tired. So it's going to be a process. But fortunately, the kid's got unbelievable talent, man. He runs the floor in 3 strides. I mean, He literally, when he takes off from foul line, he gets foul line to foul line in 3 steps. That's not an exaggeration. It's a good thing when and they know if you're on Donovan Dent's team that you're going to get it. And it's nice to have 2 graduate seniors with him as well, to help us in those positions. And like a guy like Steven Jemerson's a graduate, and he's sitting there helping coach and teach Book because he's been a big man his whole life. So that's a big key for us. So, John, it's probably why, you're asking about it. But, a big key. Can we get the rim protection and the rebounding that we need? I know this. Xavier Booker can score and put in the right positions. And I'm not talking about standing behind the line. I'm talking about he catches the ball in the pocket of a pick and roll. He catches the ball on the roll. He catches the ball in the dunker spot. He is dunking on everybody. He can finish. He can pass. He's got nimble feet to be able to catch and finish as a guy that's as long a player as I've ever had with his length and his athleticism. So it's just defensively and rebounding is where we got to grow him. And just put the hard hat on and get to work.
Well, he's definitely one of the X factors for your team. Another is Trent Perry, who again had flashes last year when he got, higher usage. Players make the biggest jump from their freshman to sophomore years. What's realistic in terms of the jump for Trent Perry?
Oh, Trent's going to have a great year. Look, the problem last year was we needed to win, and I had guys that were older than him. Now, obviously, he's back. A few of our guys that I love dearly have moved on, so I obviously believe in Trent. Would he have been just as good, maybe, or better by the end of the season? Yes, if he would have played more. But we would have lost more games because we're trying to play a freshman against an early season. Our last December we played North Carolina, Arizona, Gonzaga, and at Oregon.
Yeah.
That was okay. None of those games were at home last December, so it would have been really, really tough to win with a young guard in those spots like that. So now opportunity is a big part of this, and being older. And like I said, Trent was a true freshman, not a holdback, not a prep guy, an elite student, local guy that got better every year. And he's got a huge upside. So I was really happy we were able to keep Trent here with us in this day and age. Got to retain the guys you think you can build your program with. And obviously with, Donnie's a senior, Sky's a senior, we believe in Trent. So I think you're going to see a guy that can really play.
Well, there's going to be some opportunities, obviously, to do that early in the year. You're going to play Arizona again in LA. You're going to play Gonzaga in Seattle. There's a game against Cal in San Francisco. Is there anything else of note, looming for UCLA's non-conference schedule?
Yes, and I'm probably forgetting. I don't know. You hit me with the curveball, and I don't have it in front of me. I don't know who I'm missing, but I think Arizona State is coming.
Home and home.
Yeah, I think that one's coming. I don't know the dates on that. So, obviously, you see, trying to for our fans, look, if you're a fan of these teams, whether you're us or the other old Pac-12 teams, that especially the original Pac-10, that the fans want it. They still want these games to be played. And, they've been watching UCLA, Arizona, or UCLA, Arizona State, Cal for years and years. So if you're going to play non-league games, why wouldn't we play these teams? That's easier travel for all of us. We're already traveling. All these teams we mentioned are in the Big 12, the Big 10, and the ACC. So we should all play each other when we can. To obviously negate some and mitigate some travel issues that we all have in our league as much as we possibly can, and for your fan base.
No question. It's interesting, Mick, just as we talk about the geographics of everything, and you guys are making a concerted effort to stay on the West Coast as much as possible, and you would hope, obviously, that your December Big Ten games are going to be played against your West Coast Big Ten teams. How much is keeping your team fresh away from long distance travel right now a main priority for you as you're the steward of this program?
Oh, it's huge. Again, I think the key to winning is having the best team you can have. I go back to that. Our women's team was tremendous last year, and I think they won. They won or tied for the league, and they won the Big Ten tournament. So, how important was travel? At the end of the day, having the best players, having the best team matters. But also experience matters, John. Like the college experience. I know everybody's worrying about getting paid now, and I hear all that. But your experience, of, say, you're predominantly going to have West Coast players on your team, theoretically.
Right.
So okay, so your non-league games are easier to get to for Donnie Dent and Trent Perry's
Right.
parents than if you're playing on the West Coast.
Right.
Relatives and people to see you play. Just like if you have players from somewhere else, you play a game to get them back home. But and just the overall experience for the college student, they're still students. And if you eliminated NIL and revenue share, every one of these guys would show up at practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
Every one of them. So like people that get disenchanted with all this stuff for the fans, like I get it, but just know they would all be at practice tomorrow chasing their dream. So they're still just a young guy chasing their dream. Yes, they're getting some money. And yes, they are allowed to have people negotiate to get them some more money. But like I told my team, all that money, even the guy that makes the most money, by the time he's 27, it's going to be gone.
Right.
It will be gone. It just will be. They're not going to put it somewhere, and it's just not going to happen. No matter how much you tell them, this what X, Y, and Z is what you do. 90%, they're going to have expenses in their life. They're going to get taxed, then it's going to be gone. So there's still kids that need a degree. They need to learn how to be a gentleman. They need to learn how to be an employee that's reliable. Even if it's a basketball employee that's reliable. You want playing time, you have to be reliable. Okay, they don't put you in an NBA game if you're going to get in and immediately get scored on twice and turn the ball over. It's no different than get a job. So I still look at my job that way. And part of that is where we're scheduling games. It isn't just to limit travel. It's, okay, yeah, you do. And for strategy reasons, wear and tear on your team, got to go back for the Big Ten tournament. Who knows where you go for the NCAA tournament. But for the kid, for the experience for the guys, it makes it easier on them. At the end of the day, I don't care if they're getting paid. They're still going to school. They'd like their friends to be able to see them play. So I just still think you got to be a protector of the experience of the guys that play for you.
Mick, doing this now as long as I have, 20 years, which is, when you were starting as the head coach at Cincinnati, hard to believe. I'm always fascinated at how head coaches stew over difficult losses more so than they celebrate great wins.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, with the exception of, and it's hard to ask you this because you've been in the Final Four, with the exception of that Gonzaga loss in the Final Four, is there one loss that kind of resonates for you a little bit deeper? And give me, a great win that, you always seem to, when it pops in your head, brings a smile to your face.
Yeah, I mean, for me, everything goes to the NCAA tournament. And I had some. I'll tell you a game that was probably one of the best games I ever coached. Now, you made me think about this, and Matt Painter and I are friends. I have as much respect for him and as a coach that has honor, that that is lost in this cutthroat era. As anybody in our business. So we're very similar, except he's a lot taller. He has more hair. But I really, really respect Matt. The year he coached Southern Illinois, and I was coaching at Murray State, we had a game. It was at Murray State. And I think they might have went to the Sweet 16. They were tremendous. We won 30-plus games and lost to D. Brown and Darren Williams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
They won some games in the NCAA tournament that year. So it'd have been 03-04, JR. And I know I know how you are, so you remember all this. But that game was a December game, and it was as good a college game. And I was thinking, like, I had just spent my time, right, with Hugs at Cincinnati and Coach Patino at Louisville at the high level. And I remember going home after that game like that. I'm like, that was a big time game. Like I didn't think I was going to be coaching a big time game at my time at Murray State. Like I was like, I'll be disappointed when we beat them, and literally, like, we beat them in the last seconds. We came back to beat them. Place was going nuts. So that was like that at that level. It's hard for people to know. You don't really understand. That was a rivalry back then. They're about an hour and a half apart. My time at Murray was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. Just a great basketball job. But that one comes to mind because like where Matt and I ended up.
Yeah.
You rewind. It was both our first year as the head coach. And to see where we ended up and the quality of that game, I don't know. I mean, look, man, losses. There's no bigger loss than when you get beat on a block charge call. When Johnny makes a basket, you're playing Baylor for the title the next night.
Yeah.
Or 2 nights. I mean, that's, then the guy banks one in from half court. I don't think there is a worse loss than that, John. I mean, I know I don't know. I mean, I played in a lot. Look, if you say like biggest regrets, if I, for my fans at Cincinnati, you always want to beat Xavier more. For the fans, or go deep, have been able to take them to a Final Four for the fans, but that program, being able to coach your alma mater was great. But look, it was, when I got a hold of it, it was like the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean, man.
Right.
So, we raised the Titanic, went to 9 straight tournaments. So I'm really proud of my run there with all the players and the way we did it, and so many good kids and graduates, that the losses, they dissipate over time. We're miserable for a couple of days, John.
Yeah.
It does go away. You try to console some guys after the fact and they snapped at you.
No doubt. Mick, I remember when I was starting out, and I've talked to you about this, one of my favorite things to do was just go up to Syracuse every year and just talk to Jim Boeheim because of just, his wisdom, his knowledge. He had been doing it for so long, and he had such a great perspective on all of this, and just he had, seen everything and he had lived everything. And he said something once to me that I thought was really interesting. He says, once you go to a Final Four as a head coach, nothing else matters. And he's like, we all want to win a national championship, and that's the dream. But when you get the experience of being in the Final Four, that is the barometer for which you are going to judge every season. Has that happened to you after you took UCLA to the Final Four in 2021?
Yeah, but I think I kind of knew that when I took this job.
Right.
Like I knew that was the barometer when I took the job. But I think that it's a slippery slope personally.
Sure.
That if you judge yourself by whether the ball goes in the basket versus the impact you have on the players' lives.
No doubt.
And like I was alluding to earlier, I think it was Coach K, I heard it say this one time. The older you get, he realized, if you just make it about the players. So it's like, it's no longer about me being able to pay my child support and raise my daughter. She goes to college in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I got no bills. It's all over, so
yeah.
It's so much easier that, like, for me, that the development and trying to make it about the players. Now you have to hold it. You still have to hold them accountable to a standard and everything you can do to make it about how do they get where they want to go, and make them understand the truth versus the reality of what they live in is not the truth.
Yeah.
And this culture that we have, and the exploitation of and commercialization of youth basketball, it's just not reality for them. So as long as I'm in it, I'm trying to help these guys with reality, and so they don't get run over by a bus when it hits them, that they're ready for it. That's what it's about for me. Look, no, I'd love to win the title. I think, my job to really cement myself, like UCLA has been great to me. Our fan base I'm telling you, John, our fan base has been like, they've really embraced me. And my faults, and my Irish competitive spirits comes out in certain ways on the court, and they've learned to laugh it off. And they've just been great to me and my family. So, and I become really good friends with a lot of Coach Wooden's players.
Yeah.
And like these guys they've been great to me. So I think, you know, Ben, as you know, Ben Howland and I are close, and how much I look up to him.
Yeah.
And if you could win one, it just puts you, it puts you in a different level. And I know this sounds a certain way, but I don't mean to dismiss it. Like, I just really don't care, like, what the national media would think of me. And, you know, your legacy as a coach. Jeff Van Gundy said that legacy is the most overrated thing in life.
Right.
But but to give UCLA another title, for Mike Warren and Jamal Wilkes and Lucius Allen and Kareem and those guys, and you know, my buddy Andy Hill, and for them to see another title while they're alive, and like, to me, like, then you've really done your job. Like, you've really done your job at this place. You know, you got the 12th one up there. You know, then, you know, it's like, for me, I don't know. That's how I look at it. But you can't win it if you don't get to Coach Boeheim's point, man. You can't win it if you don't get back there. But to me, day to day, man, you got to make it about the players. And always be the son of a high school coach, John.
Yeah.
And that's what where it wasn't, for my dad, it wasn't about money. It was about teaching lessons that were going to help guys after basketball.
Well, you've been doing this a long time. You had a 3-year run from 21 to 23, 3 straight Sweet 16s. You probably had teams in 22 and 23 that could have went back to the Final Four if you didn't have 3 massive injuries, one to Jaime Jaquez, one to Adem Bono, one to Jalen Clark. You've been doing this a long time. How good can the team you're about to coach be?
We alluded to this a little bit. I think the key is going to be our front line. Xavier Booker's development, Steven Jemerson playing at the high level for the first time. Can Anthony Peoples give them guys some breaks? These are all older guys, so we can play bigger. I think we're going to have great guard play, John. Obviously, Donnie Dent's a great player, is proven senior. Sky Clark senior. And Trent Perry, like, as you alluded to, the sophomore jump. He just needs time to get a little bit older, adjust, an opportunity that he's going to get this year. Those 3 are all going to play. You can see 3-guard lineups, obviously, at times for us. We have a more versatile team where we could go small if we need to, but hopefully play bigger. Stay, obviously down the road, too, you know the key, man. You got to stay healthy, especially you're talking to a guy that could have lost 2 titles off of, or 2 legitimate chances of winning it that were derailed through injury. So I'm well aware of how important that is. All the way back to 2001 is the decided favorite as an assistant with Kenyon Martin's injury.
Yes.
So staying healthy long is a big key. I think it's just so underrated. But coming, look, the last thing, John, I'm sure you had a lot of guys on here. I know you're doing this throughout the off season. Don't a lot of coaches talk about, the portal era, like, chemistry, and guys being able to come together. You're not talking about, like, you're talking to me 4 years ago. I'm in the Final Four with my whole team back.
Right.
Now you're interviewing coaches, no players back.
Right.
So for us to have 3 starters back is a huge deal.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. And Mick, as always, it's going to be a lot of fun to cover. Appreciate a couple of minutes, man. Always great visiting with you, and look forward to staying connected throughout the season.
Always, my friend. Always. Have a great summer. Catch up soon. Thanks for having me.
You got it. That's UCLA head coach Mick Cronin. I'm Jon Rothstein, and this is Inside College Basketball Now.